So the Bitcoin halving event is happening very soon, and there's a lot of excitement, anticipation, a lot of predictions, just a lot of people saying a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of buzz. So this happens every 4 years or so, and what it means essentially is that the reward for figuring out a block becomes halves. So the miners who are now mining will be getting half the rewards and making it obviously harder to solve the algorithm in order to get the Bitcoin. So this happens obviously to decrease the supply and make it more of a scarce resource. And as you guys know, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. And based on all the halving events and everything that's going to happen, there will be no more Bitcoin to mine after about 2040. So what's going to happen after that is obviously there's going to be a lot of exchange back and forth, people buying, people selling, and so forth. But the rewards are going to come from transaction fees. So if I send you Bitcoin, you send me Bitcoin, whatever the case is, then there's going to be some transaction fees, and the miners are going to be getting paid for that. So we'll see what happens to transaction fees when that happens, but that's going to be, it's a long way away. Now, in terms of the halving event that's happening, the price has kind of really, topped up in the last couple of days, and we've seen some big decreases, and it's kind of stabilizing and kind of going lower. So a lot of people are saying, this halving event is different. And yeah, it is different. I mean, if you think about it, the ETF was recently approved, and that means a lot of corporate money, a lot of people who otherwise would not have invested in Bitcoin are now investing in Bitcoin because they're doing it through ETFs and, banking facilities and regular financial institutions and so forth. So there is a lot more speculation. And, was the halving priced in? Meaning in the last couple of months, we know that this is going to be happening. Everybody knows it's going to be happening because mathematically it was leading to this date. So, because everybody knew it was happening, odds are, it's already been priced in, kind of like the stock market, right? When we know something's going to happen, it's already priced in months and months ahead of time. Now, for Bitcoin and the halving event, traditionally, and, we've seen this multiple times, it's, within 12 months, we've seen it 8x, it 32x. It went a lot higher back in the first halving events, but it has gone higher. Now, if you're thinking of buying Bitcoin and so forth and holding it for the long run, I think ultimately you'll be a winner. I mean, if you're thinking of holding it 12, 18, 24 months, or even for the long run, I think it's going to be great. I think there's some losses that may happen for people who are now buying speculatively and hoping that, the halving event's going to cause a huge increase in price, because I think ultimately, the market has priced some of that in, and there's been a lot of activity with Bitcoin, a lot of corporate money, and a lot of people who just bought in right before this event happened. So, you have to be aware that this is not going to be the same type of halving event that we've seen in the past. If you've been in the crypto space for a while, you probably know, how high it went in the previous years, and the previous halving events. So, there's a little bit, I guess, less excitement in the sense of like how high it will be at this point, just because of all that stuff. But there are some opportunities, and a lot of the opportunities are going to be in altcoins. There's a lot of shit coins out there and a lot of things that just don't work and are just like a pump and dump and so forth. But there are some altcoins that can definitely, see a huge increase in, the 30x's and the 50x's that we saw at the beginning, if you had bought Bitcoin earlier, ETH earlier. Now, we're going to be looking at altcoins for that stuff. So it is tough to decide, which coins to buy and what to look out for. And the only advice that I can give you and things to really look out for is, see what the market cap is, right? So what is the market cap? That's going to give you an indication of, the potential of that coin and, how high it can go and so forth. And, most of the altcoins that actually make sense actually have a use case. So many of the decent ones right now and ones that you should be looking out for are altcoins that have something to do with AI. So they're supporting some kind of AI project or, some kind of currency that's going to move an AI project forward. We saw that, with ETH and and NFTs. So we saw NFTs and I forgot the word. I was like, what is that? So with NFTs, ETH and so forth, that whole project, everything was kind of centered around NFTs. And NFTs are still a thing. Obviously, they've died down a little bit, but there's still, there are still people actively trading and making a lot of money. Now with Bitcoin, obviously there's still some potential, but like I said, I think the next phase and the next thing to look out for is really coins that have to do with AI. And hopefully, you pick a couple of good ones. And always remember, you don't invest the farm. Don't invest anything that you can't afford to lose. Make a couple of good bets. My usual advice is, stick to the more certain coins like your Bitcoin and ETH. And then, some kind of more fun money or things that you can, not that anybody wants to lose anything, but things that you may want to test out. Similar like the stock market, right? So the stock market, you don't put any money that you can lose. It's the same kind of concept here. Currency is a little bit different. It's a little bit more volatile, as we've seen from the past. So obviously be careful and so forth when you make investments. Now, one thing talking about the stock market that's interesting is, people are like, hey, isn't this halving event kind of just like the stock market where everything's priced in and we already know, and there's limited amounts of stocks and so forth in a company? I would say that currency is different. Currency is not a stock. Because a stock, for example, a company can issue more stocks, can change it, and it's not decentralized, right? A stock is controlled by a finite number of people who decide where to take the stock and so forth. So I would stay away from that kind of comparison. A lot of people are comparing stocks to Bitcoin, and I think that's off. It doesn't really make much sense because it's Bitcoin is decentralized, stocks are not, and then stocks can actually increase. You can reissue new stocks, and you can create more. So I wouldn't look at it in the same light financially as that, because it will react differently. But at the end of the day, in terms of your budget and how you invest and so forth, you do have to treat it the same way. You can't invest money that you shouldn't lose, or you can't lose, or you need for your bills. But there are some definitely very interesting altcoins that have to do with AI that should definitely take a look. I hope you enjoy this halving event. I'm going to be watching closely and giving you my thoughts and my ideas after the event happens. And if you have any questions or any thoughts or any ideas about what's going to happen in the halving event, please drop them down below or send me a line. I'd love to hear it.